Paul Bossi, we have Bert Manuel, and Mike Ziegemeyer on the end. So I'm going to turn it over to Paul. He'll be the first one to speak, and they're going to tell us a little bit about themselves and their plans, and we'll give them a couple minutes at the end to wrap everything up, and we'll get going. Thank you.
Thank you for that introduction. I appreciate that. Yes, my name is Paul Bossi. I was born and raised here in Sutter County. Grew up in South County off of Berry Road and Walton and Oswald Road. Attended Berry School as an elementary student. Went on to Yuba City High School, to Yuba College and Chico State. Got my bachelor's degree there in education, and then I've got my administrative degree from Chapman University here locally. Worked in the school systems for most of my career. Was a teacher, educator, coach, athletic director, administrator, summer school principal, and so forth. So held lots of leadership positions. I currently hold other leadership positions here in the community, such as director in Farm Bureau. I'm a director in Sutter County Community Action Agency, director in Workforce Investment Board. Numerous other things. I'm involved in the Early Riders Kiwanis, a former Noontime Kiwanis member. Just a multitude of involvement. Spent a lot of time, coaching and teaching youth in our community. So I'm very proud of that. I had a great career in education, and a few years ago I decided to make a shift and go into private business, which has been extremely it's been a great ride so far, and I'm really enjoying what I'm doing. And I own a staffing and employment agency, so essentially I get to help individuals seek employment. So all in the helping people arena is what I've been doing practically my entire career. So just a little bit about my family as well. My wife is here, Rinky Bossi. She's in the crowd, so thanks for coming here. A little late. We were late on the table and our supplies, but they're over there in the foyer. So if you want to take a look at some brochures and et cetera, please do so. We have 2 children. Our daughter is getting ready to attend law school here in the fall, and have a son who was down in San Diego studying mechanical engineering. And my dad also lives with us. My mom unfortunately passed away a few years ago, so my wife and I take care of my dad, or maybe he takes care of us, we're not sure. But it's nice to have him around the house, and when my mom was there, especially for our children, it was great. So along with all these other leadership things that I've done in this community, most importantly and the most notable one is being the planning commissioner here in Sutter County, representing District 3. And I've been doing that going on my 12th year here now with representing Larry Munger. He appointed me to that position almost 12 years ago. So during that time and that tenure, I've definitely learned a lot about the way the county operates, and I'm been very privy to a lot of the expansion that's happening, some of the economic growth, which there's still a lot of room for improvement for, and definitely there's always budgetary constraints. And we just have to get a little more creative, and we have to learn how to work together with other jurisdictions here, such as the city of Yuba City and Marysville and Yuba County. The more we work together and the more we pool our resources, the more efficient we become, and we have a stronger voice, especially when we go down to Sacramento and dealing with the Sacramento Area Council of Governments, which sometimes are one of the lead agencies that determine the type of funding we're going to receive to help address our community needs. And so that's going to be one of my focuses in helping restore some additional funding. And I also want to make sure that our community is safe, as we have learned in the past from some of the mistakes, or not the mistakes, but some of the incidents that took place with DWR and their lack of oversight and lack of information and clarity to our communities, and caused a great concern to us. I am proud that our county and our communities were evacuated safely, and we did get out in time, but we definitely need to improve on that, and I think that our county is doing a good job in implementing some new things toward that. I'm also interested in getting our roads repaired. I hear a lot of that. I do go out and about in the community. I've been actually going out there since around January, and I go and talk to our community and go to the individuals' homes and ask them what their concerns and issues are. And what I've learned so far in the areas around the city limits, their concerns are more with the homeless population, and they want to know what's being done to do that and how we're going to address that. And as I go further into the rural areas, go into Sutter, they're more concerned with public safety, the lack of sheriff's department patrolling out in those areas, and there's sometimes crime that takes place, and they're very concerned about their roads as well. As I go further into Meridian and talk to the members of the community there, they're very concerned about their levees that are still in disarray, and they want that addressed, and they have other drainage issues there as well, and they're also concerned about public safety. So those are, hearing from the community directly, those are going to be some of my areas that I would like to focus on, and there's definitely probably other things that I have that I would like to probably address when questions arise. So anyways, I'm Paul Bossi, and I'm running for Supervisor in District 3, so thank you very much.
I guess I'm next. First of all, I want to thank the Sutter Buttes Tea Party for holding this event tonight to give us the opportunity to talk to you all. I'm Bert Manuel. My slogan is homegrown and it can't be owned. I was born and raised in Sutter County. I've lived here every day but the first day I was born. I actually wasn't born in Sutter County. I was born at Rideout Hospital in Marysville, but I came across a bridge and I haven't left. I've been a lifelong resident. I'm a third-generation farmer. I'm a rice farmer and a walnut farmer near the Sutter Buttes. Farming is truly the backbone of Sutter County's economy. During this recent recession, we saw that everything else can go away, but farming remains our major base of revenue for the county. We need elected leaders who understand how to run a large business and understand agriculture and the huge impact it can have on growing of our economy. Running a successful farming operation, I deal with budgets, HR, marketing, contract negotiations, and dozens of government permitting offices. I want to use my experience to help Sutter County thrive again. I'm the past chairman of the California Rice Research Foundation, past member of the USA Rice Council, current board member of the California Rice Commission, a 20-year director of the Rice Research Board, a graduate of the Rice Leadership Foundation, a member of USA Rice Council, and I've been married to Danny for 23 years, who's in the crowd. Thank you for putting up with me. I have two children, Olivia and Dino. We're very involved with Sutter High School trap team. I serve as the head sporting clays coach for Sutter High, chairman of the Keeley Memorial Scholarship Sporting Clay Shoot, and I'm the state coordinator for the California Youth Shooting Sports Association. I would be honored to have your vote on June 5th. Vote Bert for Supervisor. I have a list of all the things that I would like to do, but I don't think I have time to read them all. But I'm going to tell you right off the bat, the issues that really concern me are internal auditing. Our county hasn't been audited in 26 years. There's no formal audit in place. There's no accounting of credit cards, equipment purchases, grant money. We've had a lot of scandals lately, millions of dollars in investments. And if we had an audit in place, some of these things could have probably been prevented. That's one of my main things. The other problem that I see in the county is the unfunded pension liability. I believe the votes that Larry Munger made to change the pension formula in Sutter County were criminal. 100,000 people are now burdened with over $150 million in unfunded pension liabilities. It's growing exponentially now, up over $20 million in the past 2 years, and there's no plan to pay it down, no change of the system or lowering of our spending. Matt Conant was elected because he wanted to tackle this problem, but he is still only one vote. If I'm elected, I'll be a second vote needed, and we will need your help to convince one of the other supervisors to do the right thing. I also propose to take it one step further and eliminate pensions for supervisors completely. I really need your help to convince the other 4 to go that way. That would be a great savings to our pension fund. The budget. When Larry Munger took office over 20 years ago, Sutter County had a population of 75,000 people, and we ran the county on $95 million a year budget. Today, our population is 100,000 people, but our expenditures are up to over $300 million this year. Under Larry's watch, our population has increased by only 33%, but our spending has skyrocketed to over 300%. That's insane. Only in government can you get away with that kind of math. We also have fewer deputies on patrol and the same amount of fire personnel on duty, with a 33% increase in residents in this county today. If we had simply increased our expenses in correlation with population growth, we would have a surplus in the county today. We must begin to live within our means and pay down our debt. Sanctuary state. My answer is simple. I don't support being part of a sanctuary state. And if I was in office today, I would have pushed to have already made that statement clear to Governor Jerry Brown. No sanctuary state. I've heard the bizarre argument that as a farmer I should support sanctuary state laws because all my workers are illegal, right? Nah, wrong. I can hire illegal workers, and I don't. And there's been a rare occasion where I've been duped by somebody with falsified documents. I'm more than happy to work with the federal officials to put that person where they need to be. The Oroville Dam crisis. It's been more than a year after the Oroville Dam crisis. Do you know the plan if it happens again today? I don't. Did you know we have an evacuation route map online? I didn't, and most people don't. Based on my home address, if I don't have transportation, I'm supposed to walk to Sierra Central Credit Union parking lot on Harder Parkway. Google says that's a 40-minute walk, but you guys have all seen me. That's probably a 45-minute walk for me. If the crisis happens again today, it would be like deja vu. But with snail mail, phones, cell phones, internet, and Facebook, it's unacceptable that we have not contacted every single person in the county and given them the plan. If the plan exists, we just didn't follow through with telling people what it is. In private business, you can't get away with that. You must follow through. It's simple. If elected, my priority will be to inform the public of the evacuation plan. Homelessness. Sutter County this year added 24 more full-time employees to the Health and Human Services Department alone this year, putting us up to 494 employees in that department now. Is it the goal to get us to 1 employee per homeless person in the county? We've got to be getting close. Yet, we still got sued. This is nonsense. Adding more programs, more staff is not solving the issue. We cannot be afraid of being sued. It's going to happen whether we do something or we don't. We're going to get sued either way. Do not get me wrong. There are people that need help and that are wanting help. For this group of people who have fallen on hard times and that can be rehabilitated, I will lobby the state to help in relocating them. But for the people who want to stay in the river bottoms and live, I say no. So it's time to make policy changes, enforce the laws, and reflect our community's values. I want to take back the river bottoms from the squatters. I want to take back the shopping carts that they stole from local businesses and take away their means from moving their crap around. I want to enforce our animal control laws. If I am elected, I'm going to make it not so fun to be a squatter in Sutter County. The other thing that really is not too important, but it's important to our sheriff's department, and those people running for sheriff will have to come up with some kind of solution, but it's the keyhole annexation. The keyhole annexation is not in our district, but it will absolutely have negative financial impacts on the Sutter County Sheriff's Department. If the annexation fails and I'm elected, I will push to go back to the negotiating table with the city and create a much more fair financial agreement for the county. Marijuana. Recreational marijuana has been legal in Colorado and Washington for over 5 years. They have seen no reduction in illegal grows on public land. The revenue has been far less than what was expected, and it has not been enough to cover the expenses to the counties and the state. This isn't a debate about whether I am pro or con marijuana. I'm a businessman, so I look at the numbers. If no other state or county has been able to profit from legalizing the growing of marijuana, why and how would Sutter County be any different? I will continue to vote against all outdoor growing of marijuana until we have hard, solid evidence that the benefits and revenues will by far outweigh the damages and the costs to the county and our environment. Those are really my main points that I want to focus on. There's other things that I would like to see done. Dredging of the river. I think that's a huge problem that we have in the county. It's one of our gems that bring people to our county. Bringing people to our county brings revenue to our county. So the more people we can bring to the county, the more revenue we have. The more tax dollars we have, the easier it is to pay down that pension liability. I'm just really pro Sutter County. And kind of that's about it. I mean, I want to make a change, and I'm stepping to plate to make that change. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Mike Ziegenmeyer, and I'm running for Sutter County District 3 Supervisors. Well, first of all, I'd like to thank the Sutter Buttes Tea Party for hosting this debate. I'm brand new at this, so I'm getting a little nervous here. I appreciate each and every one of you for coming out tonight. Even with this little storm we had out here, it's really awesome to see you all coming out here and getting to know your candidates. Really neat. A little bit about myself. I was born and raised here in Sutter County. I've lived here my whole life. My wife Robin and I have been married for almost 10 years. We have 3 amazing kids. Dylan's 2, Laney's 7, Gwenny's 8. Awesome, great kids. I'm a small business owner. My family has owned and operated Suico Products in Sutter County since 1946. All right? It's an agriculture manufacturing business. So I have a pretty good idea on how much agriculture drives our economy. My dad got out of the U.S. Navy in 1945 and started Suico, and we were very lucky from a young age to learn a lot in helping out in the community and so forth. I remember in the mid-'80s and the floods and opening up our home to 40 or so individuals to help them out. And I knew then that that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to help out. I wanted to do everything I could in our community to make it a better place. And then we had kids, and I joined the Britton. I'm on the Britton School Board. I'm on the Sutter Area Little League Board. I've been on the Sutter Yuba Community Foundation Board for 8 years. I'm on the Sutter Youth Organization Foundation Board. I'm an alternate member on the Sutter Rice Commission Board. I've been a volunteer firefighter in Sutter County. I'm vested in this community because I absolutely love it here. And I want this place to be a better place for my kids and a safer place. I'm not a politician. People ask me, Mike, why are you running? Why are you putting yourself in this position? Because I want to work my tail off to make our community safer. My number one priorities are to get this audit done so we could find out where our money's being spent. We need safer communities, which means we need more patrols, we need better fire equipment, we need to support our emergency services. We have 3 fire engines out right now. We have 2002 engines out doing fire in our fire departments right now because we have 3 engines out. Unacceptable. We have 4 personnel right now on duty 24 hours a day between all 3 departments, most likely due to the lack of personnel and injuries because we have so little personnel. But like I said, with the internal audits, we could find the money and spend the money wisely on the stuff that really matters, and especially, like I said, our emergency services. I'm a huge, huge fan of our police department and our fire department. With 3 young kids, I want to do whatever it takes to make our community safer. And there's no one that's going to work harder than myself at this job. I've been doing it for the last 20 years. I'm 37 years old, and I'm going to continue busting my tail to make this community a safer and better place. I know what it's like to run a business. We have 2 businesses right now. I know what it takes to get through the red tape and to continue to be successful. And I know what it takes to get more jobs in this area. We need more jobs. We need to give incentives to businesses to lure more businesses to our county. Why would they want to move to Sutter County? We need to lure them here with incentives. So, sorry, just really nervous here. But I love this community. I want to be a politician. I want to be a supervisor that's going to listen to the people and fight for the people. I don't want to be a supervisor that's going to tell you. I want to show you. So if you vote for me, I'm going to work my tail off and show you how I can help make Sutter County a better place for all of us and our children for the future, and help make it better. But thank you very much. I appreciate each and every one of you.
Okay, we're going to open it up to open mics. There's a mic back there. You have to speak through the mic to hear anything on the recording. So don't shout out. Doesn't do you any good. We'd like short questions. I'm going to repeat this: short questions. I'm sure these guys would appreciate short answers. We're going to go on an alternating round robin. We'll start with Paul, and then the next time we'll start with Bert, and then the next time we'll start with Mike, and then we'll come back around again. So ask one question at a time. If you've got more than one question, get to the back of the line, answer it, ask another one. So let's go.
I just have one question. I just came from a conference call with a bunch of people from the United States about the pot issue. I want to find out from you guys, if you get elected, what are you going to do to stop the pot industry from killing our children and making our area safe? So I could tell other people who to vote for.
Thank you. So since my experience on the Planning Commission, this was actually one of the topics that was brought up, and where there was individuals that wanted to bring in outdoor grows into this community, and we had no ordinances in place at that time. So I do recall myself mentioning during the Planning Commission meeting that I'm in favor of marijuana as long as it's for medicinal purposes and it's dispensed through a licensed pharmacy. However, now we're gone into a totally new direction where the voters of California have voted in favor of recreational marijuana. But I like our current stance with Sutter County, and that is no outdoor grows, no commercial pot sales whatsoever. I'm not in favor of it. And I like to maintain those ordinances, and we keep them tight and intact. I just recently met with a Yolo County supervisor, and they passed an ordinance not too long ago to allow outdoor commercial grows, and they are now regretting that decision. And that was directly from a Yolo County supervisor. He said it's not a good idea. This is actually causing more havoc, and crime is up, and it is causing more enforcement issues. So we will do everything we can in my power to maintain that current ordinance that we have in place, and that is it.
Well, I'd like to echo Paul's sentiments. The one thing I can tell you, though, is really you have to look to Sacramento at the liberal people that we have in office that are putting these things on the ballot and they're pushing it. At a county level, I think we all realize that these are things that we don't want for our children and things that we don't necessarily need in our community. So I agree with everything Paul said, but the caveat is we need to look to our elected officials and put pressure on them. We're a minority, Republicans are. I guess I'm a Republican. But we're a minority in Sacramento. So, you're talking about a federal law versus a state law. And being a constitutionalist, you need to follow federal law because it's one nation under God. And we should stay that course. So all I can say is I would write more to our elected officials and tell them, look, we don't want legalized marijuana in California. It's not working for Colorado. It's not working for Washington. Nobody can make it work. We don't want it. Simply put.
So what's your opinion, sir? Because so far, the medical marijuana, those people are killing our children.
Well,
Yeah.
are you still asking Bert?
No, you.
Okay, I
please.
agree with Paul and Bert. I wish medical marijuana was more regulated. I mean, what is it, $100 to go get a script from a doctor? Here, go smoke your marijuana. Marijuana is a gateway drug. All right, I'm 37 years old and I've buried 5 friends from it. All right, and that's where they started. It's a gateway drug. I have 3 young children. I don't like to see it on the streets. I will fight to keep the dispensaries out of Sutter County. You hear that? I'll fight to keep them out. I don't want to see them here. I'm friends with a lot of PD in Yolo County. They wish they never would have happened. It completely against the recreation. I wish the medical marijuana was more regulated.
Okay, we'll start with Bert this time.
Bert, actually, I have a little history I want to share a little bit. I'm thankful to be here tonight. I'm glad you gentlemen came out. And there was once upon a time I was on the Planning Commission and served with Paul Bossie, and I wanted to call something to your attention. They have a general plan, preserve, protect, as you know, Richard. Preserve, protect agriculture. That's why I came out here. That's why I love this area. We got our city and around the perimeters, our farmland. It says preserve, protect. They wanted to put solar panels on 260 acres of prime agricultural farmland. I did my best to protect it, and I remember you voted for it, Paul, and I just wanted to state that, because I want to keep it the way it is, preserve, protect. Also, and there's another instance, was access to the river. There was 3 access to the river, and I was the only one that voted to protect those accesses. Those belong to the people. The people had the right to get to the access to the river. You denied them. And I'll never forget that. That's our property, and they're gone forever now.
So what's your question?
What would you do, Bert? Would you? There was access to the river, and on the agenda it says, do you vote with the recommendation of staff to take away this access to the river to the citizens, or would you keep it for the citizens to protect their access to the river?
Being an old lip ripper and loving to go fishing, I don't think I would ever deny access. The problem that could develop with access to the river is more access for squatters to come in. So I have no problem for public use, because the river is one of our gems in the county. And it should be something that we highlight in our brochures and everything else, because it's something that draws people here. No, I mean, I would never stop public access to the river, to one of our greatest resources that we have in Sutter County.
Thank you for your comment. Mike, would you answer about would you want to put solar panels on our beautiful farmland?
Actually, I got an answer for you, and I got something else to add converting farmland.
Okay.
Okay, absolutely not. Absolutely not. Even though that's what we partially do for a living, manufacture ag equipment, if you put it to the vote, I'm pretty sure that people wouldn't have voted for it as well. Just like when we had ag ground converted to commercial ground in Sutter recently. I went to every meeting, and overwhelmingly the people didn't want it. But yet, our planning commission voted on converting it to commercial, and we got our Dollar General. We didn't want it. I was at every meeting, and 99% of the people said, we don't want it. Our supervisors and our planning commissioners said that, well, we know that's good for you. We're going to put it in. Well, we the people know what's good for us, and we didn't want it, but yet they put it in. So I absolutely support ag ground, because that's why we live in Sutter County. We have to preserve our agriculture ground. There's so much other ground around to build other stuff.
That's the most beautiful thing about this area, is the farmland community. Thank you, and I'm sorry I just wanted to put that out there.
Let's let Paul.
Don't I get to answer that question?
Paul, you get to answer that question. Anything else?
Yes? Okay, so thanks, Mike, for posing that or bringing up those subjects. So regarding the solar panels, that actually, I can tell you right now, was a mistake, in my opinion, for voting in favor of that. Now I went back and looked at it. There's no way in heck I would want solar panels going out on ag property. I too am a farmer, and I don't know why I thought that may have been a good idea at the time, but I do regret that decision. As far as the access to the boat ramps, I think that at that time was a safety concern with transients and other individuals that are going out there and trashing some of the areas, and we wanted to get a better hold of that and make sure that there's enforcement. So that was the reason for that particular vote. But other than that, the Dollar General that was just brought up, I strongly opposed that. I was not in favor of that taking place in Sutter. I met with those individuals in Sacramento, and I knew right away it was smoke and mirrors, and I strongly opposed it. And I do recall the room was full from Sutter citizens, and they spoke loud and clear, and I was in direct support of them.
I don't remember seeing you at the meeting, though, at the supervisor meeting.
I was at the Planning Commission meeting, and I voted no on that project. I did not want Dollar General there.
I'd just like to address the solar panel issue. Being a full-time farmer that farms over 1,000 acres of ground, I'm definitely against solar panels on farm ground. I just want to make that clear too. Thank you.
I actually have an idea for that. I was actually considering we should be looking into the Yuba County foothills. If that's a novel place to have solar panels up there, some of the areas that are really unaccessible, and some of the areas that we don't want to disturb, but also preserve and protect, but where Yuba County and Sutter County can possibly jointly look into a venture where we can harness energy. Just a thought.
This is not my original question, so I'll get to that one later, but as a follow-up to this subject, why would you deny access to the river to the public based on a transient problem?
Now, Mike, let's let Mike start. We're going to do a round robin, so it's Mike's turn.
Okay, so why would, ask it one more time, so sorry.
Why would you deny access to the river to the general public based on transient problems? I mean, that seems like a small problem and a big public to me.
I wouldn't do that. That absolutely not.
I don't recall all the facts from, I don't know how many years ago that took place, but there was a concern, there was some other issue, and I do not recall what that was. I can definitely go back and research it and bring that information back.
Well, like I had stated previously, there's no way I would keep the public away from one of the true gems of Sutter County, the Feather River. It's a great place to go. I've enjoyed many hours on the river fishing. You know, I know that going down to Yuba City Boat Dock at one time was, you didn't want to leave your car up there. You know, you wanted to make sure it was locked and make sure there's nothing in the back of your pickup. But, you know, those are problems that I think that the Sheriff's Department and the Police Department took care of, and we don't have such bad problems anymore. The river bottom still has some problems. I would really like to clean them up, tell you the truth. It's an environmental disaster.
I have no intent of blocking access to the river. That is not what happened at that time. There was something more in depth, and I know it had something to do with safety. I just don't recall the exact details.
Okay, well, carrying on with this, and I know I asked for short questions, but I'm going to give you some background that I just learned tonight. Some of you may or may not know that the Sutter County Consortium on the Homeless is meeting here today, this evening, giving a tour. I talked to Pastor Dave Bryant, who's been here for 31 years. He doesn't give up on anything, and he would like to expand his food closet He's got one building there. He wants to put two more the same size. This one building is full, and he wants to expand the food closet. And he also wants to put a RV parking down there for 20 trailers, buy the trailers, and invite the homeless from the river bottoms here. Now, I don't know if it was the planning commission at the, somebody from the planning commission at the consortium, but they told him it cost him $70,000 permit. I'd like to know how that's, how you're going to vote on that if it comes through. And we'll start with Paul.
I'm certain that's not a planning commission issue, that's a planning department, but I feel that is an excessive amount of money for a permit that, and where the intent is to help displaced individuals get back on their feet and get back into society, so there definitely needs to be a re-examination of that. I would not support a $70,000 permit.
Well, it's a great and a novel idea to put trailers up and help the homeless. The problem that I see, Bill, is that not all the homeless want to be helped. A lot of them want to stay right down there where they're at. And to help the people that want to be rehabilitated, I think is great. To try to get them back into society to be assets instead of detriments is what we need. And as Christians, we want to help everybody. That's part of life. A $70,000 permit, that's a little overboard, but although to get a new permit to build a house is $55,000. So it pretty much correlates with the cost of what they're saying. So, you know, we have to pay for the $300 million budget. So that money needs to come from somewhere. And so I guess the people in the county, such as me, that farm a lot of ground, are paying our lion's share to support the county. The county's going to have to figure out how to generate more revenues. Is $70,000 of what it costs to do it? Then that's what's going to happen. That's out of our department. As a supervisor, we're just looking at things and we're trying to help direct staff. When you quit directing staff, you lose your inability as a director. So, you know, that's something now. If I'm elected, we'll have to look at it. But $70,000 for 20 spots may seem a little high, but $55,000 for a permit to build a house and hookup is a little high too.
My answer to that is my hat's off to them. Absolutely amazing. I'm a huge, huge supporter of Hands of Hope. I do not believe Sutter County should own a homeless shelter. If Sutter County owned a homeless shelter, we would have to police it, nurse it, and defend it if someone was hurt or if there was an outbreak of some sort. What better way to have an organization like a church or something like that to take care of that? I think it's a win-win for both places. And I believe as a supervisor, we would be able to take up that in a vote, and I would vote to not charge them the $70,000 because that's going to help solve that problem of homelessness, help solve the issue. Whether it takes 20 off the streets, who knows if the problem works, if it's a solution, maybe there's 30 the following year or 40 the next year. And we work with the other organizations in Marysville. I think that's better suited for Sutter County than Sutter County owning a homeless shelter.
I'm Richard Campbell. I want to congratulate the two candidates from Sutter. Great school, great high school, great community. I'd like to talk to all three of you about DWR. DWR can't be trusted. What comes out of their mouth is a total lie to the community. They shut the spillway down when 181,000 CFM was coming in. to evaluate the spillway. That was a lie. They were shut the spillway down to evacuate fish, and that put us all into harm's way. There's no access out of here when the worst comes. The roads will become gridlocked, and you'll die right in your car. Putting that dam on the parking lot, over the parking lot, evacuating fish, putting the water over the parking lot, a boat ramp, that was not designed as an emergency spillway, was never completed, and they lied to you. They lied to all of us. And then their erratic flow during the course of releasing water caused erosion from the orchards into the channel. There is no channel. Without dredging the river, the money you're spending on the levees is all good, but it's not a fix. You have to dredge the river to get the channel because there is no channel left. DWR needs to be, there needs to be a separate entity group watching every move they make as far as discharging water out of Oroville Dam. Evacuating the fish and their stupidity on non-neglect of taking care of the spillway. I watched that dam being built. They were built by my dad's generation, which was the greatest generation ever. They defended the Constitution of the United States twice from foreign countries. They built the dam. They did a beautiful job. There's nothing wrong with the Oroville Dam. It's been completely neglected, and it's going to cost. Their neglect cost the state probably $700 million by the time they're not even done yet, and this needs to be addressed. It's pathetic.
Okay, so let's get some comment.
Well, Dick, I couldn't agree with you more. I've been going to some of the coalition meetings, and the problem started when DWR didn't get relicensed in the dam. So then all of a sudden, we're not relicensed. We don't need to take care of it. We're not going to keep the upkeep of the dam. We're going to send a guy down, look at it. Yeah, everything's great. The state failed us in that area right off the bat because they didn't take into account the people downstream of that dam, and that the dam needed to be, the spillway, the dam, the emergency spillway, all needed to be checked every year and not once a year. I mean, once every 10 years for their licensing side. The other thing is, I agree with you wholeheartedly that you can't trust them. Being a farmer, we can never depend on our water. They have such different formulas for everything. Now, if you're running an department like DWR and you have this huge watershed, you should have modeling. And when you look at the modeling, you should be able to predict closely to what comes off those mountains. We have a gazillion people working at DWR. There's hundreds of models in place, but yet nobody could predict the runoff there. And the other thing is when being a farmer, when something happens, we have to react. We have to fix the problem now. So when the hole happened in the spillway and we looked at it, why did we not fill it full of boulders, fill it full of quick drying cement, patch it up so we could run 30 or 40,000 CFF down it and keep it viable? Instead, DWR spent 4.5 days monitoring it. Those are the things that can happen. I agree with you wholeheartedly. There's been 5 new heads since the dams happened. Guys retired, guys get into place. There's no cohesive unit running DWR. It's a joke. As a supervisor, all we can go to is the meetings and express our displeasure with them. But once again, this falls on our legislators. We need to talk to James Gallagher. We need to talk to Senator Nielsen. We need to talk to Doug LaMaffa. We need to work as a whole unit to try to solve the problem, which is the juggernaut of DWR. And the other thing about the channel, when you talk to them, they say, well, you know, we're only responsible down to the Gridley Bridge. The rest of the river belongs to the Corps. So you have to talk to the Corps about getting it done. But I guarantee you one thing, and I'll swear on it right now. If Metropolitan Water District couldn't get their water from the dam, we would dredge that river tomorrow. It wouldn't be a problem because there's the ones that just threw up the money for the twin tunnels. They're the ones that want our water. They're the ones that are pushing that. So I wholeheartedly agree with you. DWR is a bunch of idiots.
Mike?
I agree with Bert. I agree with Richard. First of all, no one's asking the big question. What about the $500 million over budget? What about that? Who's going to pay for that? You can bet your tail they're going to fight us. And it's going to be the people downstream that are going to suffer. My company was shut down for 3 days, and we live in Sutter. We lost over $50,000 being shut down for those 3 days. What about the other businesses in Yuba City that were shut down? We sent a claim in, and they sent it back and says, yeah, you know what? There's so many claims, we're not going to deal with this. You can do whatever. Go kick rocks. It's unacceptable. And that's what I'm really upset about, is the way the whole thing was handled. 4 hours to get from Yuba City to Sutter? 4 hours? That's ludicrous. If you think that's okay, wow. How safe is that? What do we do with the kids that were in school? Everything else, like I said, it took 4 hours to drive from Highway 99 to Acacia Avenue. Like I said, there needs to be, a lot more needs to happen, but like Bert said, with James Gallagher, and James fighting the good fight right now for us. I love it, especially with the new bill every year, making sure all our dams are safe keep, and we should do the same, with our bridges as well. But yeah, I think the sad thing is we're going to end up paying for it. Our kids are going to end up paying for it. And it's going to be in the form of, that school gym you wanted? You can kiss that goodbye because we don't have funding anymore for that new school gym. Oh, you wanted to repair that road? You can kiss that goodbye too because we're going to take that funding. We're going to help pay for this. But all the while, a construction company's getting real rich off this. Real rich. That's all I got to say about that.
Paul?
I think we can all agree that there's definitely a lack of communication and transparency with DWR. The decisions that they made during that crucial time really put us in harm's way. I too, just as many of you, were wondering whether we should evacuate or not evacuate, and you're worried about your family and your kids. You're worried about the elderly. Are they going to be able to get out? The people in the hospitals and the care homes. It was quite a nightmare for us. I do think that DWR, there's some serious lack of oversight there from the state of California. They need to be monitored just like any other agency. DWR, in my opinion, almost appears to, or gives that appearance that they're a secret agency, and they kind of just march to their own beat, and we don't really know what the heck they're doing. And now they're exposed, and I am very, very proud of James Gallagher for going out after them hard and really, changing some of the accountability measures and forcing them to share information and to make sure that we as citizens understand what is occurring in a timely manner. And as far as all the damage that occurred, as far as the erosion in the rivers, and I too am in favor of dredging the river as long as we maintain our ecosystem and go back and rebuild that. We don't want to ruin our habitat. I also am in favor of all those individuals in the state of California that share our water or use our water or take our water from here. They too need to pay their fair share in helping with those repair costs. It's not just up to us. They're all in part of this as well.
Larry?
How about, this is a follow-up on what Richard Campbell was bringing up here about the levees and what DWR has done. We have 7 major boat ramps on the Feather River, and 6 of them are so silted in that the Sheriff's Patrol can't get a boat out there. What kind of emphasis can Sutter County Supervisors put on DWR to clean this up so at least we can use the boat ramps? This is devastating to our sports fishing industry. It's cost us millions of dollars in hotels, food, lodging, gas, whatever tourists bring into this area because they can't access the river.
Mike, you're first.
I believe if it's a boat ramp issue, I believe that's, we would get Public Works involved if it's a boat ramp issue and find out the necessary permits we'd have to do. I mean, if it's just a sand on the boat ramps, you're talking like Teasdale and Wards.
They're so silted.
I mean,
you can't
I do agree with you. Let's say if you're fishing out there, let's say if an out-of-towner's fishing, someone has an emergency, how are emergency services supposed to get there? When you have boat ramps closed, you can't. They're going to have to helicopter in, which is going to take longer. I'm a huge proponent of getting our rivers dredged and actually our boat ramp access. We need to clean up our boat ramp access. And anything we can push Public Works to handle, if that is in their realm on the Sutter County property on the boat ramp, absolutely. We would definitely make that happen.
Paul?
I definitely am in favor of holding DWR accountable. We're in this position and in this mess due to their irresponsibility, so I feel they need to come up with the funding to help clean out not only our local boat ramps, but the rest of the river channel. It's just extremely difficult to navigate through there, and on top of that, it's definitely reduced the capacity of our flows on our river. So this is going to be an ongoing problem, and we need to just continue to go after DWR and ensure that they come up and comply with what we need and to maintain our lifestyle and not interfere and not cause undue circumstances for our businesses around here. It is, it's devastating. I'm too a business owner, and I lost a lot of money during that time. And so we don't want our recreation community losing any more funding as it is. It's tough enough. And I think a couple of the fly and bait shops are thinking about closing down or have closed down, and it's really tough on them.
Going to some of the meetings for the Dam Coalition, our Board of Supervisors were there, and they told DWR, boy, you know what? You guys owned it. You came up and you said it was your fault. You made the mistake. I got up and spoke and said, that's great that you made the mistake. And they say they can't fix it. So I asked DWR to start a coalition to come back and get the Army Corps of Engineers, Department of Parks and Waterways, to work together for the common good of the river. It's gone nowhere. But we do have a gentleman by the name of Mr. Stone in Sutter, who is president of the Northern California Guides Association, which I'm a member of, and he has worked so hard on this project since it's happened, bringing James Gallagher into it, bringing Senator Nielsen into it, trying to move forward on this problem. The problem that I see is the amount of permitting you have to do to put anything in the river. Just putting a backhoe in the river, pulling your pumps in and out of the river. You have to get permitted. So that's the biggest problem. Everybody's pointing fingers. Fingers need to stop pointing. We need to get to work and dredge the river. We need to clean the boat docks. It's imperative. I don't know how we go about doing it other than going down to the Capitol and screaming and yelling. If that's what it takes, that's what we have to do.
First of all, thank you for coming. My name is Scott Jean. I'm the president of the Sutter County Professional Firefighters Association, Local 5032. Sutter County Fire covers 254 square miles with 3 stations. One of the stations covering this facility here with 2 personnel on duty. The other 2 stations cover a little bit of District 3, are staffed with 1. You talked about the evacuation taking 4.5 hours. Remember that 30,000 people that is evacuating is going to a fire station staffed with 1 personnel on duty. Our apparatus averages 20 years old and as old as 40 years old. In Sutter County, they have a top 10 priority list. Sutter County Fire is not on that list. So my question to the 3 of you is, do you feel that 4 personnel covering 254 square miles is adequate? And do you think it should be on the top priority list for Sutter County? Thank you.
Am I first? Thank you, Scott, for bringing that up. I did have the pleasure of meeting with Scott earlier, about a month or so ago, and he did bring up lots of concerns. And I also had the opportunity to visit one of the fire stations and sit in there and take an evaluation and look at some of the equipment. There is definitely some major concerns regarding the equipment, the age of the equipment, and the lack of manpower and the lack of tools and technology that need to be current for them to be effective in their jobs. So I will do whatever it takes as your supervisor to help restore some of the equipment that's necessary and to increase the manpower so they can safely do their job and not risk themselves to injury, as has been occurring due to many of the times that they're called out to lift individuals who fell down, and there's only 1 person on duty, and then the firehouse is left empty, and it's due to lack of volunteers, and volunteers just aren't coming out like they used to in the past. So there's a real major crisis going on there, and I'm still doing some additional research, and thank you, Scott, for emailing me the information. So I'm looking into that as well, but that's definitely going to be fire and police, or definitely public safety is a top priority.
Scott, when you do the numbers and you look at the Department of, I want to call it the Welfare Department, but it's called Human Services, Health and Human Services. Okay, Larry Munger's been a supervisor for 20 years. He lives in Sutter County. He's had the opportunity to change things, okay? When you look at the numbers, there's 494 people working in that department. There's 70,000 people in city proper, okay? There's 30,000 in the undeveloped areas. That means that we have a 1 to 200 ratio for the people working at home services, but yet for those 30,000 people, we have a 1 in 9,000 ratio for firefighters. That's wrong. We have 6 psychiatrists that work at the department that make $2.15 million a year to counsel not the people that are out in the county paying all the taxes, but to counsel people that are problems. Where do we stop? Where do we take this audit? Where do we steal the money from for our services? Because I'm out and I drive through Sutter every day. I farm rice out there. I grew up in Live Oak. I know what's going on. We need more fire department. We need more sheriffs on duty. And you know, we're gonna have a new sheriff. Don't know who it's gonna be, but they're gonna have to make that decision too in their budgeting things to put more people on patrol, because that's what's needed in the county. Like Paul, I'm a huge, and Mike, I think everybody up here is a huge fan of public safety. And when we talk about the pension, I think the guys that are going out risking their lives every day to keep us safe need a little bit better pension than the guys that are sitting behind the desk doing nothing. So when you risk your life for us, and I thank you, you should be rewarded for that. When you put in 20 years in a department where you risk your life every day going out there, you should be rewarded more than the person that sits behind a desk and is a secretary. It's just my personal opinion.
I agree with Bert. I agree. I don't know why our emergency services aren't our number one priority. I believe you find your number one priority and you find the money. People ask, well, how are you going to give them $1? That means you got to take $1 from somewhere else. You find those dollars. I've been to the meetings. I've seen them give $350,000 for the DA's office to go buy fancy vehicles, when $200,000 would have been sufficient enough to buy a vehicle to go from the DA's office to the courthouse. That's $150,000 right there. I believe it's $105,000 for a full-time firefighter, and I believe it's $145,000 a year for a full-time police officer. There's our supervisors. We're going to get a 66% pay raise last year. That equates to $84,000 a year. So you take the 84, you take the other, you hire a new police officer, a new firefighter. That's just a few things right there. We can do this. It's there. We just got to work harder and find it and make these guys a priority. So that's my question. Like I said, great job, guys. Outstanding job with what you got. Absolutely phenomenal job. And with that Oroville Dam crisis, they actually got booted out of their own house, guys, and had to, you guys had a little room there. So like I said, my hat's off for what you do with what little you do with. But outstanding.
Yes, our firefighters and police are the most important. It's tax time, property tax time, federal tax time, state tax time. How much more you're going to squeeze us? I pay a lot of taxes. A lot of people own houses, property. They're going to raise sales tax. What are you going to raise? I like that internal audit. You're both a businessman, or all three of you are a businessman. These people and myself, we paid enough taxes. How are you going to be the guy that stands out and fights for the citizen? You go to a Sutter County meeting, and the amplifying system is terrible. Terrible, Are you going to be the guy that goes along with staff? Are you the guy that's going to stand out for the citizens here? That's the guy that I'm looking for. Yeah.
Well, first of all, I'm not a quiet guy. I say my mind, I speak my piece. When you talk about the Board of Supervisors, they just hired for $100,000 an analyst to work with them. What are they analyzing? Isn't that what staff is supposed to do? Isn't staff with their department heads coming to you to feed you information that you need? We have to hire somebody else for $100,000. That's why we need an internal audit. It's simple that the people of Sutter County, I hate to say it, are getting the short end of the stick, and it's just not working out for the rural county. People that live in the city don't see the problems that we do in the rural county. I live in the city, but I work in the rural county every day. We're under the protection of Yuba City Police. We're under the protection of Yuba City Fire. When my combines got broken into, it took 4.5 hours to get an officer out there to take a report. What if somebody was shot out there? Maybe they would get there a little sooner, but the bottom line is that when you talk about the county and the supervisors that are in there, there's only one I know that'll speak up. And he has to expend political bullets to speak up. And when it's 4-1, those bullets pretty much stay in his pocket. But I'd like to applaud Matt Conant for speaking up and saying his mind.
I'm the guy that asks the questions. I'm the guy that doesn't care about taking the pictures. Come Thanksgiving time, I'm the guy that's out collecting the turkeys, not taking the picture with the turkeys in his hand, about ready to put them in the truck. That's not me. Never has been, never will. I don't like to talk about myself. I wasn't raised that way. You could look through all my actions I've done in the last 20 years, how much I love this community, and the questions I'm willing to ask. My number one goal is to see Sutter County be more successful. And like Bert says, I mean, you talk about let's talk about spending. We spend $50,000 to $60,000 training a new police officer, only to see that officer leave in a couple years because we're not adequately paying our officers enough within even a half hour away from here. So we have to invest more into our police officers, into our firefighters to actually keep them here so we're not losing our emergency services. That will actually save us a little money there too. Especially we talk about our unfunded liability. With the unfunded liability, everyone's not going to retire in one day. But as soon as they do retire, we're going to get new employees at a lower pay, at a lower benefit package. And we still don't know where all the investments are from last quarter. So I believe we really need to tackle this issue before it gets way too out of hand. In 2016, what was it, 230 million, 130 million, now we're 150. So like I said, there's a lot of work to do. There's a lot of questions to be asked. And we need transparency. You all need to know what's going on. All right, and that's what, I'm tired of the closed doors. You need to know what's going on so you see what's going on. You know what's going to happen. If there's a meeting that directly affects you, you should be notified by your elected official. If they're going to put some sort of business in your backyard, you'd like to be notified so you can go and vote on it. Instead of having a vote and say, wow, they're putting that business in my backyard. Why didn't I hear it? Well, it passed. Well, I didn't know about it. That's your elected official that's supposed to let you know about all this stuff. That's what we're here for. We're here to listen to you and fight on your behalf and to let you know what's going on. So,
Paul?
So, Mike, I think you had started out talking about taxes, that the taxes are too high, and I agree with you on that. I'm getting ready to pay my tax bill here, and it's not going to be nice. And so I'm very, very concerned with taxes. We don't need any additional taxes here. That's not the answer. The solution is always being more creative, learning how to collaborate with other agencies, and spending the money wisely. With collaboration becomes efficiency. When you're efficient, then you have less waste. There's already an incredible amount of waste in government, and we all know that. But you also ask the question is what's going to set you apart from the others? And what I'm already doing in the community is I go out and talk to the community members and listen and learn what their concerns and their issues are, so that way I can be effective in the job when I get there, if I get there. And I'm also transparent. I believe in that. I'm accessible and I'm approachable. So somebody that has an issue or a concern, they know they can contact me, and they know I'm going to represent them, and I'm speaking on behalf of the community. This is not about me. This is about what's best for the community and to do the right thing. With the information that you have, as long as you got your community support, then I can carry that message forward.
Okay, I have a question regarding basically your meetings. Sutter County Board of Supervisors, no meeting. Yuba County, no meeting till, etc. City councils are the same, meeting canceled. What are we paying you all for if you don't come to your meetings to make your plans to gather together and decide what is best for your community? I'd really like to know.
As far as, I think it's my turn? What was it, Mike? Oh, sorry.
as far as I'm concerned, we're paid they're paid way too much money.
Amen.
I mean, benefits, retirement. We're in this to make the community a better place, not for a job. I have a job, all right? I'm here because I want to make it a better place. And I'm here because I have the energy and I believe that the passion for it. And that's my answer to that. So I don't believe in canceling meetings. That's absurd. If a meeting is set, then by golly, there should be a meeting. I believe you are.
I think occasionally, being on the planning commission, I know sometimes there's a project or several projects that are coming through the pipeline that have gone through all the proper documentation and all the packets have been completed. And so once they're complete, then they're ready to move on to the next level, whether it's going to the planning commission or to the supervisors. And occasionally, meetings do get canceled if all the documentation is not there and they didn't go through all the proper channels. Sometimes a document doesn't circulate and it doesn't get through, for example, the Public Works Department. They didn't have a chance to comment on it, or it didn't get to Caltrans and they didn't have a chance to comment, and then there's a hold period. So sometimes, it's not their fault. It just happens due to process, and it is a shame that those meetings do get canceled. But when there's not an agenda item that they can discuss and it's not a complete project, they sometimes don't have a choice.
Well, when a meeting gets canceled for the Board of Supervisors, that's staff's fault. And so that falls back to the accountability part. And so if you can't keep Mr. Mitnick and his crew in line, then you have a problem, because the Board of Supervisors is here to serve. So we're not running for an office because we want to get our picture in the paper, and it's definitely not for the money. But the accountability thing goes back to like the internal audits. It's the same thing. The county has not been accountable. And so the meetings are every 2 weeks. And so when you're on the agenda, stuff happens, but you just don't do that one agenda item. You have the rest of the packet to go, because there's things that need to be done at every meeting. You cannot take time off on a meeting. I run 2 dinners, and just on a simple little dinner that you run to raise money for the trap team, we meet every 2 weeks, and then we meet every week. And if somebody can't make it and they're in charge of something, somebody picks up the slack and takes care of it. That has to happen in the county. If somebody can't, a department head can't be there, their deputy should be there. So to me, that's an accountability problem. And hopefully we can change that if we're elected. But right now, we're not elected, so we don't know what we could do.
Hi, I'm Joe Lemonager. Back in 2011, I started the process of building a house back on my family's farm, and property that has been within the family since the late 1800s. Due to what I would consider overreach by local government, I had to fight with the county for 4 years and had to spend tens of thousands of dollars to just get to the point that I could talk to the Board of Supervisors in a official setting at a meeting and actually get something accomplished. At which time, all the supervisors agreed that what we were going through was completely asinine. And with that being said, I have heard a lot of good information about audits and finding where our money is going. But something that I learned from this process is a lot of that money is going to staff that only exists to pull a paycheck. And I'd like to hear a plan to not only find where the money is going, but what you guys plan to do to cut out the fat personnel-wise, so we're not just giving somebody a job for job's sake.
Lucky you.
There's, yeah, there's definitely, probably, I'm not an employee of Sutter County, and nor am I a supervisor. We're only privy to so much information, but there does seem to be, some departments that are top-heavy, some are not, and there's probably some departments that don't have as much funding as other departments do. So there probably needs to be some type of a parity study and to look at which departments are successful and which departments are struggling, and where can we better utilize the staff so there's equalization there and the services are still getting done for Sutter County. It's unless we know the facts and really divulge into this information, it's really hard to make an assumption as if there's any true waste that's going on. I don't have the facts for that right in front of me, but if there's a concern, then we need to look into that. We need to work with our auditor controller, and we need to look with our assessor, and need to figure out where there are monies, that are going somewhere that we don't know where they're going. We need to take a hard look at that. I just don't have a real definite answer for you at this time, but I'm really sorry about your home too. I feel your pain. I've got some property as well that I wanted to make some type of an ordinance change on it, and it's been 20 years and I'm still dealing with that situation and got nowhere with it.
Well, to me, it just falls back on accountability, okay? If elected as a supervisor, it's my job to make sure people are accountable. I've talked to so many people in construction right now that their number one thing is, you know what, I'd like to get a building inspector to work past noon on Friday, because during the weekends, the only time I can get this job done due to traffic restraints. They can't get somebody out there. So it's accountability. But I want to read you something. This is the number one priority that's on the Board of Supervisors' desks or brought down from staff. And it says their number one priority is direct the executive team to prepare a long-term organizational strategic plan, including county mission statement and customer service philosophy, and an employee succession plan by March 30th of this year. That's the number one priority from the Board of Supervisors, okay? That they're given by staff. So you shouldn't even have a problem. Your problem should be taken care of, because on the 30th of March, the customer service philosophy should have been put into plan. The problem is we don't have accountability in the county. There's nobody that forces people to do their job. Being out in the rural community, just like you, I am a dumping ground out on McClatchy Road for every used sofa, old washing machine, old everything, TVs, everything. The county doesn't have time to even come and clean up the roads. What are they doing? Took me 16 months to get trees trimmed so I could move my cat harvesters down the road. I feel your pain. The problem is we don't have a business-friendly environment in Sutter County. That needs to change. We need to be business-friendly, service-oriented for our citizens. Why would somebody want to come do business in Sutter County when we have high permitting costs, can't get people to work past noon on Friday? I understand what you're saying. There's not much we can do until we're elected. And then when we're elected, we just kick the can, try to wake somebody up, make things happen. That's all I have to say.
Mike?
And I agree with Bert. I believe more business friendly. I mean, when you go into the planning department, special services, and say, I want to build a house in Sutter County on this property, they should welcome you with open arms. Well, Mr. Lemonager, this is what we're going to do, and this is what you need to do, and this is how you're going to do it. And you're, oh my goodness. By that, you're going to go out and get a contractor to build your house. You're going to pay for the concrete. You're going to get all the building materials. It's going to be more revenue. But instead, you're going to fight them. I watch this happen. My neighbor walked in and said, hey, I want to put a pool in. And he put him through so much fiasco. He said, you know what? I don't want to do this anymore. This isn't worth the fight. He wanted to put a pool in. I just don't understand it. Joe, that's what they're there for. So I asked our supervisor, I said, who do they work for? Well, who's their boss? I mean, can we fix the customer service? Can we do something about it? Because I've been pretty impressed lately in there. We're working on a project, but like I said, you should be when you walk in there and you want to build a project here in Sutter, they got to welcome you with open arms and show you what they can do instead of giving you that nasty word, no, you can't do that, you can't do this, because you just want to go somewhere else. You talk about the management. Well, that's our county administrator. Our county administrator needs to do a better job. It's just like anything. You know what? I run my shop one guy down, so I'm always busy. Why aren't we doing the same thing there? If we have all these employees, you know, what if we, you know, you find the guys that you, like you said, you trim the fat, Joe, and you fund the departments that need to be funded. Right now, we're paying for third-party building inspectors right now. Third party. We can't even hire them. I said, how long have you been doing that? For about 2 years now. Makes no sense. So that's my answer on that. Thank you.
Good evening, gentlemen. Thank you for being here and being in the hot seats. My name's Chris. I'm with One Eye Blind Media and It's Yuba City and More. I've been living here for about 30 years now. And in those 30 years, I have made 4 phone calls to the Sutter County Sheriff. 3 were emergencies, 1 non-emergency. The non-emergency took an officer about 10 minutes to get to me, maybe 15. Not a problem. In the emergencies, this is what our sheriff candidates are getting. They're getting one of the best damn sheriff departments you're ever going to find in this country. Those guys and me were at my house in 2 to 3 minutes when there's only 2 of them, maybe 3, patrolling the entire county with the exception of Live Oak. That officer can't leave Live Oak unless he's coming to the jail. So a discussion I had with an officer was, if you were at Franklin and 99, the Circle K at Franklin and 99, say grabbing a drink, you get a call that there's an officer who needs help down at the county line at Sacramento, how long is it going to take you to get there? He goes, at 130 miles an hour, it'll still take me 20 minutes. That is a freaking problem. So how would you guys help out our new sheriff that we're going to get, come up with a way that we need to get more officers on the street? We need to have more than 3 officers patrolling this entire county at any given time.
First of all, the sheriff's department is 9 positions down. They're frozen positions. They've been trying to hire some more people. The problem that I see is, once again, monetarily. And you have a CEO, boards of supervisors, that see this problem as not a problem. It takes 3 of us to say, no, your budget is no good. We want more money. I don't care where you find it from. Lay one of the psychiatrists off that make $499,000 and hire 4 more deputies, because we need protection. We need safety. If I'm elected, I look forward to working with the Sheriff's Department to solve this problem, because public safety, I know Mike is the same way I am. We are about public safety, because who else protects us? Nobody. The guys put their life on the line. How safe is it for that guy to drive 130 miles an hour down to Sacramento? Mm-hmm. Not very safe at all.
No, it's not.
So, you know, the guy's just risking his life to get there, let alone the situation that he's going to get into. So I'm all for finding more money for the Sheriff's Department and the fire departments. Those are a couple of my priorities. And with the internal audit that I want to get going, I guarantee you, being a farmer for 43 years, I got a magic pencil because some of those years aren't very good and you have to stay in business. I can get the money from somewhere to make the sheriff's department better and the fire department better. I'll find it.
Thank you.
I agree with Bert. For those of you who don't know, there's 10 beats in Sutter County. So that means, let's say if someone gets pulled over on the county line and the other two go to back him up, it's a free-for-all in Sutter County. Run anything you want, no one's gonna be there at your doorstep, and it's gonna take a half hour to get from there to Sutter.
That's what a CCW is
So
for.
that's the part that scares the heck out of us. My wife and I, we used to live on one side of Sutter. We got tired of complaining. We kept on calling and calling and calling. Hey, we have these 2 drug houses. I didn't want my kids around that, so we moved to the other side of Sutter. Well, I found out that, I mean, you know, as a police department, you have to fund your jail first, and everything that's left over, goes to the patrols. There's not a lot of funding there. So, like Bert said, we have our audits, and we find the money. We find it, and we don't quit until we find it, until we hire the new police officers, and we have safer communities. It's pretty simple.
Appreciate it.
Well, I've had the pleasure to not only sit down and meet with the Sheriff's Association and their leadership, as well as the fire department and Scott Jean. So both of these entities, I believe, need to be funded. They need to have the tools and the technology and the equipment necessary, along with the manpower, to safeguard us and our families and our children. So this needs to be a priority. As mentioned by an individual that came up here, it's not even, or Scott actually, it's not even one of the 10 priorities of the board. So this needs to change. There is a certain pot of money in the general budget. So then it comes down to priority as to what do we want as citizens of this community. If the citizens are behind this, I am definitely in front of it, and I want to make sure that this happens.
Thank you. Next question.
Appreciate it.
Don't worry, Chris, this is for your benefit too. So I represent Yuba's Sutter Political Spotlight radio show, AM 1410, every Sunday from 1 to 3. The Patriot. And I'm also here to represent the online viewers who are watching the Facebook Live put on by Chris Starkey over there, One Eye Blind Media. One of the questions that came through, someone was curious to know, I won't ask the one question, I'll ask this question. They're curious to know if you could elaborate on the duties of what the supervisor entails, is, you know, more than or beyond just your normal meetings that you have. Can you elaborate some more on the duties of the supervisor? Can each of you give your perspective of what you believe that to be?
I believe the supervisor should be the voice of the people. I believe the supervisor should have meetings with the people. I want to have quarterly town hall meetings with the community, and I want to know what they want. And that's what I want to fight for. And I want to tell them what we're doing. I want them to know what's going on. They have every right. It's their community. So that's my answer there. Thank you.
Paul?
The duties of a supervisor are fairly complex. There's a multitude of departments that the supervisor is in charge of, including the CAO, which is a county administrative officer. And Board of Supervisors, they not only oversee the Health and Human Services, they oversee animal control, they oversee the fire department, they oversee the sheriff's department, and the airport. I mean, there's a multitude of different agencies that the supervisors oversee, and their number one job is to always help set the budget that is going to happen for the upcoming year. That is their main priority. But yes, they are definitely a voice of the citizens. They are, as a supervisor, it's their job it's their job to represent you as to what the community wants. But yes, they do have duties that they have to fulfill and obligations, and they do report to a lot of the different committees. They also are involved in negotiation. They're also involved in economic development. They have meetings in Sacramento where they're dealing with the Sacramento Area Council of Governments to secure funding, whatever they need to do to help this county run smoothly. So there's, you know, a multitude of things, and I think probably on the Sutter County website would give an accurate description of all their duties. I don't know exactly every single one at this moment, but I know the budget is definitely one of the top things that they're involved in.
Well, each and every supervisor sits on a number of committees that, like Paul said, either go to Sacramento, the flood control, air quality control. There's a myriad of committees that each and every one are on. But just the word itself, supervisor, you're there to oversee the county and to keep the county accountable, to make sure that Scott Mitnick is doing his job, that Nate Black is doing his job, that, you know, Parker's doing his job, you know, that Scott's doing his job. You want to make sure that you're supervising. You want to have a hand in everything, because the day that you quit supervising, you become a pawn for staff, and staff gives you direction, and that's how you go. So as a supervisor, you need to open the book and look at other things, because that's your job. You're a supervisor. You're looking at all aspects of the county. Budget is important. Where else are we going to find the money for fire and police? It's got to come out of the budget somewhere. So you're going to have to be the one that makes a call to take money away from another department to put in to fire and the sheriff's department. It won't be an easy call, because there'll be people back and forth fighting for their money. But once again, I have a hard time with paying $2.15 million for 6 psychiatrists at Health and Welfare or Human Services. I would much rather see a few more guys on patrol, new fire engine. To me, the money that I'm paying in taxes is not being well spent, and I don't think our supervisors are supervising right now. That's all I have to say.
Yes, I just have a comment on the Sutter Fire Department. I lived right on Clark Avenue, a half a block from the Clark House, and those guys are on the go constantly. I gotta commend them. They're just, I don't know when they get any rest. I mean, those guys work their butts off. I just want to make that comment.
At what point, since you're overwhelmed with the squatters on the river, at one point, can't you appeal to the governor to break out the National Guard?
That's I'm not sure so certain if that's within our powers to have National Guard deployed to our river bottoms to remove our displaced individuals there. It's unfortunate the state, when they chose to close down the mental health hospitals, they've put this burden onto our local jurisdictions, and that includes counties and cities. And we, as a community, have to solve this problem or this challenge. It's not a problem. I would say it's more of a challenge. And these displaced individuals that are families and children that are out there in this river bottoms, yes, there are some of them that do not want to seek services. There are definitely others that have a different story. They're there because of a circumstance or a situation that occurred in their life, and they truly want to get help, and they're looking for that help. And we as a community have to come together. And I don't feel that this is a Sutter County issue or challenge. It's a community problem. And I do want to commend the church here for, raising their hand to helping open the doors up to help these individuals hopefully get on their feet and eventually expand this program. But I know our ad hoc committee that has been formed by the Board of Supervisors is diligently working on coming up with a site which that is about the only way at this time that we can actually enforce our ordinance and to get those individuals out of the river bottoms. We have to have a site that's proposed that has beds, it has to have a kitchen, it has to have showers. That's what we've been told so far. So we have to work within our parameters and work within the law.
Well, unfortunately, one of my favorite politicians, Ronald Reagan, was the one that did away with the mental health departments. That's the one thing that I think he made a mistake with. So mental health is a big problem that we have in California and all over the country right now. But as Paul said, we're being mandated to take care of the homeless, which is really a California problem. And you know, the state would rather spend money on a bullet train or the twin tunnels than to help the homeless. Homeless don't pay taxes. They don't care about that. The problem that I see is that when we're dealing with the homeless in the river bottom, some of those people definitely want to be helped. If we did have a shelter, they'd move into it. That'd be great. But one of the biggest problems that we have is that because of the climate that we live in, the river's there, it's free access to water. Those people don't want to leave. So whether we build a shelter or not, what are we going to do with the 35% of the people that want to stay there? They're going to stay there. We're going to have to enforce the laws on the books to leave them, to make them leave. That's unfortunate. The sheriff's department's going to have to deal with that. The DA doesn't want to prosecute it. No judge is ever going to hear a case about a homeless person. The problem is society today is looking at the homeless differently than it did 20 years ago. All I can say is no matter what happens, whether we build a shelter or not, we're going to have a problem in the river bottom unless we enforce the laws that are on the books.
I think we're going to have to see what other communities are doing so we can avoid a lawsuit. I believe Sutter County's getting sued right now from what happened down there when they went down and moved a bunch of them out. But Yuba County. But I still believe that, like Paul said, Sutter County's looking for property right now. We need to nip that in the rear because that's only going to cost us even more. Like I said, it goes back to owning a homeless shelter, policing it, defending it, nursing it. It's going to open up a whole new ball game here. But I think we work with the churches, like we said earlier. If they want to come in and help out, see if there's something that can be done. But it's a very, very, very touchy situation down there. And I believe there's other communities that have figured it out. There has to be, and we see what they've done, and we can do the same thing to help the problem.
Okay, two more questions, Stephanie and then Tom, and then we're going to wrap it up and let you guys give a couple minutes of closing.
Okay. When I was listening to some of the answers, something was striking me from different meetings I've been throughout the nation on homelessness. Outside of Baltimore, there is a $2 million grant, and they were using railroad cars, converting them and using 3D printer technology. They were building for a fraction of the cost. We got together, that's outside of the box thinking. Of course, you'd have to have your planning department and permits. And then I was thinking permits, thinking CARB, Mary Nichols, all the communist stuff that's going on against us. I was thinking Jerry Brown standing up, we're a sanctuary city. Why? And I was thinking, okay, the US Constitution, the sheriff is the ultimate law enforcement in our county. Why don't we just stand up and tell our environmental regulators, no, we are dredging the river. Pick a date, get everybody together, and just do it. And do what our governor is trying to do with his third finger, saluting. And just do what we need to do for our community. Would you guys have the if you were supervisors, would you have the balls to think outside of the box and just get it done? They can't prosecute everybody.
Hey, Bert, show us.
Well, unfortunately, the first ones they're going to prosecute is the supervisor. But you're preaching to the choir. The problem that we have in the state of California is the liberal lawmakers that are in Sacramento. Their priorities are not Sutter County's priorities. And so when we look at the situation, we can come up with every alternative, some great ideas, think out of the box, but then we're not allowed to do them because of permitting, environmental impact. Some of the other stuff that happens from the state. I'm kind of a cowboy. I'm a farmer, okay? When something happens and something breaks and something goes on, depends if it's Mike's stuff, then I call Mike to have come fix it. But if something breaks, we fix it. We make a decision then, right now. We don't look at it. We don't let it exacerbate into this huge problem like it's happened. We fix it right away. And I don't know if we can fix the homeless problem. There's just a myriad of reasons why we can't. And I'm going to go back to 25% of them to 30% of them don't want to leave. So what are we going to do with those 30%? Are we going to have Brandon, who's the new sheriff, come in and arrest them and have the DA prosecute them, and then we put them in jail? That's even a bigger cost that we have, because it costs a ton of money to put people and take care of them in the jail. We do have to come up with a solution. But I agree with Mike. I'm definitely not for building a homeless shelter and the county owning it and running it and take care of it. I would rather see the county take $500,000. Again, well, now we're down to 4 psychiatrists versus 6 because I gave one to the fire and police department. I'm going to take the other one out to solve the homeless issue, because they're the only ones using the psychiatrists and they're not going to see them. So my point is that we have to find the money somewhere to come up to a solution to the problem. And the solution is not Sutter County buying a piece of ground, building a building, cooking them 3 squares a day. That just exacerbates the problem, because now Sutter County's got a new shelter. Let's move to Sutter County. So they all come to Sutter County. We got a great cook there. We're coming to eat meals there. The problem will just get exacerbated. We have to come up with a solution. And unfortunately, the solution almost has to be statewide, because this is a problem. Go to Chico, go to Sacramento, go to Los Angeles. The problem is huge all over California, whether it's Fresno, Modesto. I'm a competitive shooter. And so I go and shoot at a lot of venues. Every town that I go through, whether it's Livermore, Stockton, El Dorado, you have a homeless problem. Sutter County is going to have to come up with some type of solution to do this. I agree with Mike. Working with the churches would be great to help fund the churches in doing this if they want to take care of the problem. But myself personally, as a citizen, I don't want to see Sutter County being in the business of homelessness, taking care of it.
Mike, and then Paul.
Okay, Steph, you first of all, you talked about like who we're gonna get, the dredging and so forth, making everything safe. I'm just gonna knock on as many doors as I have to find the right person, because there's gonna be a person that's gonna be able to answer this question. Because what scares me is 4 years from now we're having the same debate. What are we gonna do to get these rivers dredged? And it's gonna happen, because we have politicians, and they're going to tell you, oh, this is going to change, this is going to change, but nothing's going to happen. Nothing. We have to demand the change. That means if we're up there every day, hey, you got to come down and fix this problem. We can't deal with it because it goes into the river, the boat ramps, but you need to come fix this issue. because we're losing a lot of revenue from our hotels, our fishermen, and so forth, and it's not working out. So I believe we just have to find the right people, hold people accountable, and don't give up. I mean, too many things, it's too much work to go find the answer to that. Don't give up, find the answer. There's an answer somewhere. We just got to figure it out.
Paul?
As a resident of the United States of America, I don't intend to break laws to make things better. We have laws for a reason in this country. We need to follow the proper channels and the parameters to get things done. And that means we have to go out there and not only lobby our assemblymen and our senators, we have to get through those channels and get our community and have grassroots organizations to make a difference in Sacramento. Sacramento, it seems like they are definitely gone in a different direction as to most of us individuals that live up here in this North State. We have our way of life, and it seems like they have their way of life, and there's definitely a differing viewpoints. But at some point in time, they need to listen to our issues and our concerns, and we just have to do it through the proper channels, whether we're going to dredge the river or whether we're going to address the homeless issue. I also do believe it's a statewide concern, and it's unfair that the state has pushed this issue onto local jurisdictions, and they're not providing any funding for us to handle this. It's a burden on us, and we are trying to be as creative as possible, along with all the other communities in this state, to come up with some viable solutions. But at the end of the day, everything costs money, and if the state's not going to partner with us and take part of this, then it's up to us to go help make that change.
Tom? Last question.
What's called the Sacramento Area Council of Governments. We have One Bay Area, and this form of government and regionalism. Can you explain how that benefits the people, the process of these organizations, and what is the benefit for the people?
I have no clue. I don't have the answer to that. But I can tell you I'll figure it out. I've always been that guy that looks on Facebook and I see our elected officials in Washington, D.C. and other places, and I always wonder, what are they doing there? Are they on a free vacation, or what's going on? I'm running for supervisor for Sutter County. I need to be in Sutter County fighting for Sutter County. Now, if there's meetings and so forth in Sacramento, then I need to be in Sacramento for those meetings representing Sutter County. But I don't believe in being at all these functions, at the Bay Area Bridge opening, at so-and-so openings representing Sutter County. I need to be in Sutter County representing Sutter County. Your Board of Governors, thank you. I'm not too sure, but I definitely look into it. If either way, I'm going to look into it. But thank you.
So Sacramento Area Council of Governments is an entity in Sacramento where many of the local jurisdictions from our area that are part of that go there basically to plead their case as to where they can secure funding for particular projects. Whether they need infrastructure repair, we need to put a new light down on Highway 99 for public safety, or whether we need to improve our levees. Whatever concern that we have, that is a place that we can go and voice and echo our concerns to secure funding so we can get our projects done here in Sutter County.
Well, I'm not familiar with the regional programs, but I can tell you, as being part of the California Rice Commission, sitting on the commission, we partner with the Strawberry Commission, the nut guys, the dairy guys. And so I would imagine these commissions or these regional boards are the same thing, that they come together as one voice to try to unify themselves to talk about a problem that affects all of them. So, you know, I have no idea what they do, but I gotta believe that's what it's about, because no matter what happens, where you're at, what business you're in, when you talk with a unified voice, more things happen than when you're there talking by yourself. So that's what I gotta believe that the boards are trying to do, is trying to talk as a unified voice to get funding, like Paul said, get a light put in, to do things that affect their communities. That's because I have no idea, like Mike, what's going on. But that would be what I think it would be about.
Okay, let's wrap it up. We'll give each of you 2 minutes to make a final plea, and then we're going to have somebody from the audience draw for a couple raffles we've got going on. So don't get up and leave unless you didn't buy a ticket. So Paul, you're first. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. So first of all, I also wanted to thank the Sutter Buttes Tea Party for hosting this forum. I forgot to say that earlier, so appreciate that. And all the individuals that asked these pressing questions. And I know that everybody has concerns, and you're looking for someone that is going to represent you as a Sutter County Supervisor, who is going to share your concerns and be effective in getting those concerns and issues addressed. You know, as mentioned, a lifelong resident here. I'm also a farmer that I forgot to mention. And so ag and water are definitely something of high priority. We want to make sure that we preserve our way of life here in Northern California. That is a high priority for me. Public safety, as mentioned, with the Sheriff's Department and the Fire Department, that is something that I want to divulge into and look into further to figure out how we can increase the funding and to add additional staff, and again to get them the tools necessary for them to be effective to keep us safe. In addition, I do support dredging the Feather River Channel, and the capacity has been reduced there, so we definitely need to look into holding DWR accountable for that and securing funds from them, since they've been part of that problem, or the majority of that problem. But at the same time, I do want to make sure that we preserve and protect our ecosystem there and the habitat. We want to make sure that our sporting and industries thrive, and we're still an attraction for individuals that come here for those recreational purposes. Along with that, you know, I'm one of those kind of guys that's very accessible. It's easy for individuals to come and talk to me. I listen to your concerns, and I'm one of those guys that follows through, and I always communicate properly and effectively. I want to represent you in that seat with integrity and respect, and to ensure that our county is continuing functioning at a high level. There are definitely challenges, but there's no challenges that can't be completed as long as individuals and entities come together and we collaborate and again utilize our resources. You know, I'm trying to already create a dialogue with some of the guys on City Council in Yuba City to see if I do get elected, that can we have a dialogue and can we start working together? Because the solutions, they all affect us, and the challenges all affect us, but we need to come together to do it together as a community, not as, oh, I'm Sutter County and you're Yuba City, and so we're not going to work together. That's just silly. And we also need to cross over the bridge and look into our other community members in Marysville and Yuba County and bring them to the table. As we become a force and we work together, that's the way we can put power and pressure onto Sacramento. When we're doing it as individual entities like this, our voice is not heard. So that's something I would also like to see happen in our region.
Well, when Larry Munger took office, we ran the county for about $1,200 per person. We now spend over $3,000 per person each year. With less public safety for the county, that is just criminal. I'm a lifelong Sutter County resident, a third-generation farmer, If I'm elected, I will manage Sutter County like a well-run farm business. We will tackle the $150 million unfunded pension liability. We will conduct an internal audit of all departments, and we will stop kowtowing to the squatters in the river bottom. I know the importance of a business-friendly local government that encourages job growth of all kinds, and that well-planned development of this county is a must. I will vote to reallocate funds to our Sheriff's Department, Fire Department, and 4 more staff to cover the needs of the rural community and to fix the roads and bridges that are in decay. Martin Luther King once said, "Our lives begin to end the day we become silent about all that matters." Well, I'm not a quiet guy, and I'm stepping up to the plate because I truly believe I can make a difference for our community, for our county, and for you. Please vote for Burt Manuel for Sutter County Supervisor, because I'm homegrown and I cannot be owned.
I want to thank each and every one of you for coming out here again tonight. And it's pretty tough. This is very, very nerve-wracking for all of us here. I'm very shy here. I'm a small business owner. I'm a family man, and I'm a hard worker. I love this community, and it shows from all my past volunteering for the last 20 years, being on all the boards and so forth. And I do it because I love it. I do it because that's what I want to do. I want to be a supervisor for Sutter County because I know I'm capable of helping out Sutter County in so many more places. And we need a proven leader. We need someone that's going to ask the questions, someone that's not going to be afraid. And I would really appreciate, I'd be honored for your vote on June 5th. Thank you very much. Thank you.